Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Rydell, actor and now podcast host, I guess. That guy you've seen on a million TV shows and movies, but you still do not know my name.
And I'm David Allen Bache, actor and sometimes producer, and you also recognize me from lots of films and TV shows, but you probably couldn't name one of them right now if I paid you to.
The two of us and our guests are going to let you in on some secrets on how to make it as an actor and share some private stories from the many movies and TV shows that we've worked on.
That's right. We're going to interview a special guest each week, and we'll get their best advice and wisdom for you about how to break into this business and how to stay in it. And yes, again, there will be stories, stories, stories. So, let's get to it.
This is Confessions of a Working Actor.
Recording in progress. Chris, we're back. It said recording in progress. That's how we know.
Back, my
That's
friend.
how we know. I'm going to need a little help this week, I think, from you.
I'm here for you.
And let me tell you why. Because I worked with our guest this week. I worked with her on a TV show, and she played my sister on the show, and she beat me up constantly, and I secretly kind of loved it, but I'm also a little bit scared right now.
Well, if she wasn't so formidable, I'd say you were overreacting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She may be laughing, but she is formidable. Our listeners know her, of course, from King of Queens and a whole bunch of other television and film and other things.
She is unstoppable, I believe.
Wow.
Literally. And we'll get into that with her. Let's welcome the incredible and delightful, always entertaining, Leah Remini.
Wow. Thank you for this introduction. Now, you were never actually really scared of me.
I was never scared of you. You were always kind and never hurt me. But we had a fun thing that I was on the X's and Leah came on, and I was so glad. She really brought this amazing energy to the show that we were needing like a little kind of a boost. And Leah came on and played my sister. And I don't remember how it started, but at one point there was just like a little flick. It's just a little... And I was like, I just went with it. I was like, oh, yeah, that seems like, I have an older sister and brother. I was like, yeah, that seems right. Yeah. But then the flick turned into like a little, nerdball, and then there was a smack, and then and it was just, it just said so much about their relationship. It was fantastic. It was like...
Yes, and working with you was amazing too, because, as you said, the flick turned into, it evolved. And you were such a good sport about it. You were like, yeah. And I was like, does this hurt? Does this hurt? And you were like, no, well, slightly, but it's okay. You were such a good sport about it. And I we had instant connection, instant love. And that's, as you know, is not always the case.
That's right.
It was just such an amazing experience working with you. You were just so lovely, as evidenced by, we're still talking.
Well, here we are, right? You said yes.
Exactly.
You said yes. I think in my email, Chris, I wrote to Leah and I, in the subject line, it was like, hey, TV sister.
Yes.
Come be on the podcast. And I keep in touch with Alicia Silverstone, and she's was one of my TV fiancés. So, sometimes we have this weird thing as actors, right? Where all of a sudden we have this instant relationship. It's like, just add water.
Yes, yes.
But I'm
forever connected.
Forever
connected.
Yes.
That's right.
And
bound at the hip.
Yeah, and I say this all the time. Like I say, I have, a handful of people that, because you work on many sets, you meet many actors, but not all do you connect with. You're not saying you didn't have lovely experiences with them, but not enough to, connect always. And you are one of those people that I just adore.
Well, thanks. I'll take that. Let the record show.
Yes.
That Leah said she adores me.
I do.
She also adores my wife, and I adore her husband.
Absolutely adore your wife.
It all works out in the wash.
That actually worked to your benefit when I met your wife. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah.
You married up, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Believe me. I know.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know. And Angela knows that too. So
she's quite impressive.
Well, look, we did a few dozen episodes of The X's together, but you, obviously you have a great body of work as an actor. I mean, over 200 episodes of King of Queens. Mm-hmm. And, if there's anybody who knows their way around a TV set, it's you. But you didn't always. And one of the things we always ask our guests is how you got started. And I know you started when you were quite young, but if you were going to answer that question, like how'd you get started? I don't love when people ask I think Chris and I have talked about this. I don't love when people say, like, what was your big break? Because we know there wasn't just one. There was always
Never.
like a series of things. But
Correct.
I don't know.
And you're right. And the other question I don't like is, like, how do you get to be an actor, right? It's like there's certain groundwork you should have done before asking somebody how they just kind of quickly break into the business of acting.
That's right. Quickly over a few decades. That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And we all know that it wasn't just one thing, right? It was a constant, and still is in some ways, right? Very challenging. When you get on a series, that doesn't mean that you go into another successful series right away, and you think that body of work means something to a place where you could just walk into any network or any company and just go, hey, hand me a series.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it's constant work, and you have to start with the love of entertaining. You have to start with that kind of pure goal, right? It can't be, I want to be a star, I want to make a lot of money. Often things in the universe do not reward that as a goal. In any business that you're in, you have to start with your why, right? Why do you?
What was your why back in the day?
I loved laughing, right? I grew up on Good Times, and I Love Lucy, and Stanford, and so like these are the 70s sitcoms were, and I just loved how they made me feel, and some of these shows were very ahead of their time, dealing with some pretty big issues.
Subjects.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
And just remember feeling things watching these shows, whether it was as a young person thinking about things that I wasn't thinking about, or laughing for the first time, or being embarrassed. Watching I Love Lucy, I used to watch with my hands over my eyes with the things that she was doing, so much so that I didn't want to see it exactly, oh my God, she's lighting her nose on fire, And so I loved making people feel that. I wanted people to feel joy when they were around me. And it started out very early on, me doing skits for my mother, dragging my sister into doing skits for the family, doing commercials, and just wanting to entertain. That's why I wanted to act or perform, I should say, because I really didn't know that I was going to just be an actress. I thought I would, eventually learn how to sing and maybe do Broadway.
Sure.
I had high hopes for myself.
Do you still want to do that? Is that still a dream of yours?
I'd love to do Broadway, but I don't sing. And I'm not saying that in a way of and then all of a sudden I burst out a song and I have a decent singing voice. I do not have a decent singing voice, but yes, I would, and I'd love to direct shows. I just love performing. I love the art of performing and the art of acting. So, long-winded answer to get even longer. How you want me to actually answer your question of how I actually started?
Sure.
Or do you two want to interject anything?
No, well, we're not going anywhere. I mean, what do you know?
We're here. Yeah,
we're here.
But it is your podcast. I would like to.
No, this week it's your podcast, so we do want to know, what's just you could let us know, a part I remembered early on that meant something to me was XYZ. Like what?
Well, I'll tell you this. That's not a great question, but I'll answer another question that I think we should ask.
Ow! She just flicked me. She flicked.
I did a little flick. Only because I like to tell linear stories.
Go! Please proceed.
Okay, so it's just men it's just jumping here, jumping there. Okay, so no, I got into acting. It didn't happen overnight, like you both smartly pointed out. I mean, I had regular jobs. I was selling car insurance. I was going to acting class. I was working until 7:00 at night, and then going to my acting class at 7:30 till midnight, and waking up early and doing what I had to do and doing it all over again. And I had a friend who was in the business. I asked him to introduce me to an agent. She didn't have too much confidence in me because of my New York accent.
The friend or the agent?
Both, probably.
Okay.
But mainly I'm talking about the agent at this point.
Okay. Yep,
she didn't sign me. She said, I'm not going to sign you. You do need to lose your horrendous accent, though, because I had a very thick Brooklyn accent. And she was like, this is horrendous. Like, nobody wants to hear this. And she sent me to a dialect coach. And he talked to me for a little while. And he said, listen, babe, I know your agent sent you here, but I don't think you should lose your accent. I think it's who you are, and why, take away the thing that is very uniquely, you. Well, you're nodding your head. Why?
Well, we talk about that a lot on here, about being who you are and how important. There's only one of you.
Right.
And we need to be proud of that, I think.
And it's also knowing too what makes you special, right? Like if you're able to really just be yourself unarmed in these rooms, which is very hard to do, I think also contributed to my getting auditions and shots at things that I probably was too green for. But I think because I was able to talk to people in the room, like I'm nervous, telling a casting director I'm nervous.
Mm-hmm.
It's authentic. There's an authenticity there, and that's part of what people are looking for, I think, in storytellers.
So often are told not to do that.
I know,
and agents and people who are probably well intentioned, are giving you advice about your pictures, about the way you speak, the way and it's like, what was I doing? I wasn't going after Chekhov. I was looking for a sitcom of somebody that I would be playing something close to myself. Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't looking to go so far out of who I was anyway.
Those instincts were spot on, and you found that.
And you were getting auditions that other people weren't getting because of who you were, I think.
Well, yes, because I was being authentic, and also the acting class that I was in, I greatly, to this day, I'm begging my old acting coach to start an acting class with me again, because she is the reason why I was able to tap into my vulnerability. And her name is Jocelyn Jones. She just wrote a book called The Artist, and she's on Instagram. She's an amazing human being. She has a love of actors. And that is what she nurtured in me. As a matter of fact, one of my, in the first class that I went in, right? Now, we all have shtick. You know that you have shtick, I have shtick, right?
Of course, right.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk into the room with that shtick, which is great because it's your armor, it's your thing, it's your niche, it's your thing, right? So I'm walking in with this Brooklyn thing and hey, I'm just me and fuck Hollywood, and I'm not a Hollywood type person, and I'm just me being raw and honest, and walking in with the nails and hand gestures and cursing, carrying on. So the first introduction to the class, Jocelyn asked me to get up and in front of the class talk about myself for a little while, right? So I get up and I'm doing my shtick, and I'm like, I'm from Bensonhurst, and I'm real, and I'm a Hollywood type, and blah blah. And she's just taking notes, and I kind of noticed that, and I was like, I wonder what she's writing.
What's she writing over there?
Yeah, I was like, give me notes on myself.
It's like a shrink. The shrink starts writing, and you think, oh, geez, what did I just reveal about myself?
Exactly. And I just kind of took a note, but I was like, and these pages are turning, and she's writing, and she's laughing, and I'm like, all right, the class is laughing, and I'm like, I'm in, bro. Yep. They all love me, and she goes, well, great. Thank you for that. And then she said, I love this, and I never want you to change it. You're going to need some of that. You always don't want to lose, your shtick. But she goes, I also know that you're a big teddy bear, and you have a big heart. And underneath all of that makeup and nails and things and your Brooklyn stuff is a beautiful person and I just start crying.
Oh,
yeah. Immediately she went to Leah. She saw Leah through this.
Right through the armor. Yeah.
And she said, I just want you to reserve some of that for us and for the room. And that's your most vulnerable, right? What you hide from us with the Brooklyn stuff. And I get it. It's your protection. And you should keep it because you need protection, right? But she saw Leah and she said, I want you to not always lead with the Brooklyn, right? And let people see you as an artist and see your big heart and tap into some of that vulnerability. And so it really was because of this beautiful teacher that I was able to, go into those rooms and say, I'm nervous. I'm shaking. I feel my heart beating. I feel like you could see my veins popping out of my neck as I'm trying to audition, or the script in my hand is shaking. And I would, those things we try to push down a lot, So I went on a few auditions. I was given a lot of notes like, you're good, but you're nervous in the room. You're a little green. And John Levy was the casting director for a show called China Beach and many other shows at the head of the class, which was, like one of my it was like my first show that I had a line on. I almost got fired. And I almost got fired from it because I was trying to make like a movie of the week out of my one line. Trying to set myself apart. Right. From everybody else with the same line. Right. And they were like, say your line and get the hell off the stage.
Well, see, I have a feeling that Chris or I was just about to ask you, like, what's something you wish you knew back then, like to do or not do? But that's really interesting. You were milking it. You were like, I'm going to make
milking
this.
It.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the artist. And they're going to say like, she's amazing. We should make her a series regular, which, again, when you have ulterior motives, right? Like to be noticed and not to just simply be the artist, right? And do the job that you were hired to do, things don't always work out because that did not happen. They did not want to cast me as a series regular or recurring, right? They wanted me off the damn stage. Now, with John Levy, John became, again, one of my biggest supporters because John knew that I was nervous. And John even told me, you're not going to get this job, but I'm going to keep you in mind for other things, but you're just really green. And then I called him across the street from the Taco Bell, across from Warner Brothers, and I, used the payphone. This is before cell phones, and
I know that Taco
I called
Bell.
His office. Yeah,
I was say I know that Taco Bell. Yeah,
because we've all sat in that parking lot.
Oh yeah,
trying to eat something,
trembling, and going
through your audition sides. Just going, God, if I could just get this part, it would just change my life. I could pay my rent, or I could, And
there's a car wash. There's a car wash on the corner over there. Yes. And I can't tell you how many times I got my car washed completely unnecessarily just because I was like, I have to go somewhere away from all the other actors and just work on my lines and get my head right. And
Yes.
And by the way, that's one of those old Taco Bells that has like the Adobe look with the actual bell. And it's
one of my favorite Taco Bells. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, we all went on hundreds of auditions. It feels like I know that for me, I did. And as you start to like book these jobs, you get a little bit of a sense of what it feels like to be an actor. Yeah. And I was going to ask you, what does it mean to you now to be a working actor? Okay. What does that mean to you?
It means to me that you are somebody who could change a room. And money does not buy you that, right? Like I did a road trip with my family. We often ask questions like to each other in the car, like, would you rather be rich or famous, right?
Right.
And of course, people rightfully so are going to think rich because of, problems, right? Or, it's, hard times, right? But I said, but let's change the question. You're comfortable. You're okay. Would you rather be rich or would you rather be famous? And most people in the car picked rich. Now, I said I would rather be famous not because of what comes along with that, right? Because there's a lot of downfalls to it. But what it means to me to be somebody who's working is that I can walk into a room and put a smile on somebody's face. And to be able to walk into a restaurant, a diner, and have somebody smile because you made them laugh. I just, it makes me want to, like, it moves me so much when that happens. And, to be through the years, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, like when they watch your show or they see something that you've done, they say, you made me smile for the first time in my day. Or how many times, Kevin, James, and I have been told, you got me through chemo, your show. And that to me is such a gift, right? Because people who run around saying, well, I give because we get something back selfishly, right? As artists, we get something back. Me making you laugh fills me with something, it's not, completely altruistic, where you're just giving, I'm not Mother Teresa running around the world.
But it feels good. I mean, it's
my God.
My daughter just said to me, we were just talking about this the other day, and because I was embarrassing her. We were on the walking to school, and I started singing. I was doing the like Guardians of the Galaxy, like Come and Get Your Love, and I was doing a little dance to it. Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. And she's like, Dad, and she was cracking up, but she was telling me to stop. Like, you're embarrassing me, but she was also really enjoying my embarrassing myself. And she said, you're very good at that. And I said, what? And she said, embarrassing yourself. And I said, oh, sweetheart, I made a living out of it.
Exactly.
And I said, there's nothing better than humiliating yourself for other people's complete amusements. And again, I hope I didn't give away all of my dignity, but I mean, there is a great return on that, right? There's something to be said for, I'm stripping away all my armor, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to be the clown, and I'm going to make you laugh. And then it just, when you see those smiles, it makes you feel so good. It feels so good.
It is everything, honey. It's everything to hear that laughter in an audience, even like what you said with your family, laughter is such a beautiful gift back to us, you know what I mean? Or even when I've done serious work in class and just have, other students come up to you and go, man, you got me there. You got me. And this is why I admire artists as well, to see them make a moment out of something, to downplay the tears, to avoid crying, is because most people don't want to cry when they cry. When I see an artist holding back the tears in a scene, I'm like, oh, that's because that's what humans really do, is we don't just sit there letting tears running down our face.
Play the opposite, and
you play the opposite. I admire the art of acting. I want to know how people got there. I love film. I love watching the oldies, and I always tell actors, know plays, read plays, watch movies that are in black and white. These are movies that were made and referenced by good acting teachers, for a reason. Marlon Brando didn't know his lines. He used to put his lines up, around the room, and you wonder, like, how does he come up? How is he doing the, making it sound like he's just saying it? Well, he is, what I mean? but another art to do. You and I, like, we need to know a script. I can't just show up on it. So, you were always so prepared and ready to go. I have to say, there was never a moment where you phoned it in. You were never like, oh, hang on, I'm on my phone, or like, I don't know the new pages, because sitcoms especially, they're like, you know what, let's try another joke there. Let's try another joke there. Let's try another joke there. And it was just home run after home run after home run from you. So and I learned that from Tony Danza, which I had my first series was under Tony Danza's, supervision. It was a spinoff of Who's the Boss, and it's called Living Dolls, which is my first series.
Right.
And Tony told me, don't ever keep an audience waiting. Don't ever keep your crew waiting. Know the names of your cameramen. Treat people with kindness and decency. And he used to make us run. When there's quick changes, from scene to scene, you have to change your clothes. You have to run back to a dressing room quite often. Then you have to, hair and makeup has to check you to see if you wiped off an eyebrow putting on your shirt, or, and you're often running back to your room and running back to stage. And Tony used to, time us and say, don't make phone calls. Don't go to the bat. Like, there's an audience waiting, and without them, you don't have any support. For the script, it's very hard to, which is why I'm not a fan of single camera, because it's like doing work. You don't have any validation.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Yeah. I was sitting here thinking, like, well, how do you feel about that? Obviously, you've done so much live work, that live camera, a live audience there.
I love an audience. I love an audience.
It's like being a comedian in a sense. You're getting that immediate feedback that you don't get in a single camera on a street corner, right?
Yes. And it's hard. I did a single camera pilot and a few episodes or a season of a single camera, and I really didn't like it. I mean, I used to, we're already kind of like attention starved, right? As actors, right? We need feedback. And I just found myself, going to where the writers were and like going, was that I mean, was it funny? Or, they're like, what? Yeah. Well, I was like, what lines particularly did you find? And like begging them for line by line, notes.
Well, we used to do a dry run, right? On the I don't know if they still do this, but on the X's we would shoot the whole show and get it in the can before a live audience came in.
Yes.
And we do it once that way, and then when that Wednesday night or whatever it was, the live audience would come in, and they were completely different experiences for me anyway.
And by the way,
the writers I loved it. I mean, the writers have heard the jokes, they wrote them, they think they're funny. And then you'd say it in front of the audience and it was crickets. It was like, that's not funny. And you'd have to come up with another joke. Or it was the opposite, which is they've heard it a million times, nobody's laughing. And then you'll say something that you think is, maybe it'll land, maybe it won't. And the house goes down. I mean, it's like brings the house down. So I love that live audience for sure. I love that.
And I love I loved how the Exorcist was shot, which was, getting it in the can, because doing a scene 6-7 times in front of an audience, gets me livid. Like, I just think this is, and I make notes of those directors who do that, because I'm just like, I never want to work with a director who thinks doing comedy 6 or 7, a scene in front of an audience who are sitting there cold, tired, hungry. It just doesn't work. So to me, getting it in the can is such a smart way to shoot it, because you have it. And everything, what you said, like, we do it once, twice, maybe 3 times in front of the audience with a new joke, and you got it. It's done.
Yeah. And I used to love the new jokes. That was, and I have a quick memory, so I used to love, especially if they give me like a paragraph. And if I could nail it, if I could get it, be like, oh, that's fun. I know that's going to pay off.
So good at that.
And I love that, because then the audience is so surprised. Everyone was like, oh my God,
Yes. I, on the other hand, am not so good at that. I get nervous because I know I have like one shot at it, and I would always screw it up.
No, that's not true. That's simply not true.
I would get too scared. I would get too scared to screw it up, and then I would just psych myself out.
You also, first of all, that's not true. You did not always screw it up. But when you did screw up a line, it was absolutely delightful, because you always just made fun of yourself. It was, we actors do different things. I remember, Kristen Johnson would just yell "fuck" at the top of her lungs.
Yes, exactly.
Right, but we all do different things. And Wayne Knight would if Wayne stammered, he'd be like, and then he'd say, "I'm sorry, I seem to have had a small stroke. Can we go back, please?" He always had a line or a joke. Yeah. Donald would just dance. He'd just immediately just be like, let me deflect, and he would just be like, get up and do a dance. You just would just giggle. You would just giggle and laugh, and the audience would laugh along with you, and you'd be like, I guess we're doing that again.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
Well, we need a tool to let it go, because otherwise you're inside yourself, and the next thing you know, you're broken out in a cold sweat, right? And you don't, you're like, because for me, I always need to know my lines really, really well. And there's nothing worse than having a page of dialogue and stammering through some part of it. And with, not only an audience there, but whether just the crew and extras, and you're like, oh no. And it just seems to snowball. And it's worse and worse and worse. Excuse me, Chris, we have a little, I'm going to pat you down a little bit.
Yeah. It's hot in here, right? It's hot in here.
Is it? Am I the only one that feels like it's 120 in here right now?
Yeah. You kind of want a coach to go like, time out.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
time out.
Yes.
We need to stop. We need to stop the momentum of this right now.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Water bottle. Hey, can you share with us a story of some positive, incredible experience that you had with another actor or a director, or whether it was a producer or someone came to you and said something, or you were able to connect with somebody in some special way that's out of the norm?
Out of the norm. I think anything that's positive and beautiful is out of the norm, because sets can be very, it's not always fun and games, right? And so it's hard for me because, like you said, we did 200 and 7 episodes of The King of Queens, and that will always be very special to me. And working with directors who get it, there's Jimmy Burroughs. I've worked with Jimmy. I mean, I remember he's so funny. And I did Cheers, and I was so insecure. Here I'm working with Ted Danson, and great, and it's Cheers, and I had a guest by Rhea Perlman, and I'm just like, oh my God, And I remember James Burrows directing, of course, and I was like, Jimmy, am I doing okay? Or I just, again, needed, affirmation. We're actors, right? We want great job on that. And he said, as a matter of fact, we were talking and the president of NBC was there, and he was walking up to Jimmy Burroughs, and he goes, I disagree, Leah. I disagree. I think and he named him. He goes, I think this guy, the president, is a lovely man. I just haven't had those experiences with him. And then walks away. And the president of NBC is standing there thinking that I was talking shit about him. And I'm like, no. I go, no. He just made that up. He's like, And I go, no, you don't understand. And and I look like I'm lying because I'm like stammering and I can't fully form a sentence. And I'm like, no.
Oh, man.
I wasn't even talking about you. I swear to God, I've never talked about you ever. I mean, in a good way.
Totally threw you under the bus. I love it.
And I go up to Jimmy and I go, Jimmy Burroughs.
God damn it.
I go, what the fuck? And I go, Jimmy, you need to tell him that I wasn't talking. He goes, too old, too rich to care, Leah.
I love it.
I've had such I hate to be the person to say that I had amazing, but I have really been blessed with working with.
Don't hate to say that. Be glad to say that. That's great.
Listen, I've had a lot of horror stories I can sit and tell you, but it makes the beautiful moments so much more beautiful, and the friendships that I've had and maintained over the years. I've just had really nice experiences with some really great directors that, again, still connected to, still talk to, still want to work with.
Well, that brings us to the next segment of the podcast, which is we do want to hear one horror story because we want to hear your worst audition story ever. And we ask this not because it's gossipy.
No problem.
We ask because we want other actors that hear it to know and remember that all of us have had a shitty audition. We've all had a terrible time of it in the room at some point or on Zoom or however you do it. So first thing that comes to mind.
First thing that comes to mind is an audition that I had for some pretty big producers that pretty big. And I, again, kind of just starting and using my Brooklyn stuff.
Chris, this is going to be good. I can feel it.
In the room. And before Jocelyn Jones cracked my shell, right? So I'm in the audition and I'm nervous. And these producers, there were like 3 of them sitting on the couch in front of me. And I was auditioning, standing there in the middle of the room. And I was starting to get a little in my head and I was shaking. And I noticed they started talking, to each other. So I go, I'm sorry. I go, did you guys want to have a meeting? Should I leave and come back? And they look at me like, no, bitch. No, right? And I go, do you want me to continue or should I just leave? Because, you 3 seem to have like a lot to talk about. And they go, we're good. And I go, good to keep going or good to, they go, you should finish your audition, your audition. I was like, okay, because I didn't know. And I kept on it. I was like, because, you guys thinking that I was going to get a laugh and I kept pushing it thinking eventually I'll joke them out of
their meeting.
This moment. Exactly.
Their meeting,
this moment.
right. That's right.
So I leave the audition and, these are big producers. Like they were producing many shows at the time. Mm-hmm. And I left the meeting, had the balls to call my agent, had the fucking balls literally to call him and say, so what's the feedback? He's like, it's not going any further, which everybody's gotten that line. And it's not going any further. Right? Mm-hmm. And
that's mercil. That's actually that's mercy right there. Yeah.
I go, so they didn't like my audition? They go, no, they didn't actually like you as a person. As a person. And so listen. So look, here's the moral of the story.
Oh.
The moral of the story is you have to be a person first. You know, you have to walk into these auditions ready to be humbled and to be a person. Like I, again, walked in wanting this, wanting the show, but wanting to put them in their place, right? Like I'm going to be the girl who's unemployed, on unemployment, who's going to check your asses. Mm-hmm. And again, that's not why I'm an artist, right? I'm an artist to make people laugh. I'm an artist to move people, to have people think differently, right? That's what we do. We perform our art in hopes to produce a feeling in the watcher, right? And to those who are viewing the art. Not to put people in their place, not to be a smart ass, not to stand up for people, and that's not the moment to do it. And that was my lesson. Like, you are not sent here from Bensonhurst. No, they're not paying you. Bensonhurst is not paying you. The city of New York is not paying to put California people in their place. So stop doing it. Do your job as an artist, walk in the room, be a pleasant human being, understand there are other human beings who are not perfect in the room, right? Especially like a casting director. A lot of people sit down and act like the casting director's job is to take you through how to talk to another human being. It's your job as an artist to walk in and change the room. And casting directors are just people as well, right? They might be socially awkward. So to walk in and just sit there with your arms folded, to me, is an attitude problem. Mm-hmm. You need to walk in there, the artist that you are, and change the room and say, hello, how are you today? Is everything good? Can I help with anything? Can I make your day any better by making this faster and knowing my lines and not asking stupid questions, knowing what's being expected of me as an artist in the room? Giving a compliment.
You're not going to stop when you're doing a play, and look at the audience member and go, hey, you know what? You want me to stop here? You got something you're doing?
Yes.
You're going to continue on.
Although I did do that once.
You did?
I did.
Well,
I did because the cell phone went off, and I was doing Visiting Mr. Green, and it was me and Eli Wallach, and the cell phone went off, and I saw Eli twitch, but we both kept going, and it kept ringing.
Yes.
And it kept ringing.
You want to get this?
And I couldn't take it. And Eli just pointed, and I just turned out, and I said, "Do you want to answer that?" I put my hands on my hips. I was like, "Do you want to answer that?" But wait.
Yeah, go.
No, he says yes, and he answers the phone. He goes, "Hi, I'm in a play," and he starts to walk out. Yeah, it's all right. And he goes, no problem, it's fine. So the deal is, and he's doing the deal like in the last two rows of the audience. He walks out, and the audience is yammering, and I look at Eli like, what the fuck do I do? And he just went like this, like, come on, go. Yes. And we went right back into the play. But yes, so it's not always good to stop like that. But your point is, yes, that's right. You're not there to change everybody else. You're not there, right? You're not there to make a point.
Yes, you're there to change.
You're there to be yourself.
People through your art, right? And then when you become somebody and you have a platform to do so, yes, you can change yourself. You can change those around you first. You can try to affect change in a positive way. But, it's not your job to walk in there and be an asshole. And they were assholes, you know what I mean? And we're both right? But in this case, it didn't help me to ever get another audition from them.
I had that experience with...
you did?
Yeah, I was reading for Oliver Stone for Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And I'm in it's just me and him in the room. Yeah. And I've got like a full, monologue page to do. Yeah. And in the middle of my audition, he grabs the phone, picks up the phone, and starts dialing somebody.
So what'd you do? What'd you do?
I was it wasn't even like I did anything. I was just heartbroken. I just kept going.
Yes.
And I didn't have the balls to say, you're an asshole.
This is my 2 minutes. Do you mind?
You're a real asshole.
Yeah.
Yes. And there was, and you know what? I don't know if he was just testing me.
Yeah, you never know.
It's like you don't know. Like were those producers testing you?
You never
to
know.
see what kind of focus you had or whatever. It's like sometimes you don't know what the hell has got.
And look, and sometimes, and most of the times, they are being assholes. They do get off on a certain power.
Yep, and some are just clueless too. Sometimes people especially if they've never been in that situation, they've never been in a situation of I'm the product, I'm here for your approval or disapproval, right? And they've never had to express that kind of vulnerability. Sometimes they don't know, and they're like, well, what's the big deal if I'm looking at my watch? Yeah, they don't know that breaks an actor's heart when when they look just one glance at the watch, and it's like,
you have to be able to take the rejection, though. It's like if you had let that get to you and been like, this business sucks.
Yes, exactly.
These people are rude. I don't want to be an actor. Oliver Stone, he just picked up the phone and made it. Called somebody during this. Or it's not going any further. After, when you were at Network. It's one thing when they say it's not going any further in the first audition, but when you've signed a contract and you've taken the family photos with everybody and they're like, Chris, it's not going any further. And you're like, wait a second, there was only one other guy there. That means he got it,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. What if Oliver Stone was like, Chris Rydell's agent, please? Yeah. Can you get Chris Rydell's agent? And then you don't know which way the call's going to go. Could be good.
Either way.
But either way, it's still.
But this is we all have horror stories of people acting horribly in these auditions. And I don't think they realize how crushing that is to us because we've likely hired our coaches to go over the audition with us. We spent a week going over it, and this is our moment to perform it for you. And the least you could do is give me 5 minutes of your time. That was scheduled. It wasn't like it wasn't like you saw Oliver in a restaurant and you were like, "Hey, bud, can you come in the bathroom? I just want to read." You know what I mean? Like it was a scheduled meeting. It was a scheduled audition. He could have very well just taken the time to give you his attention.
Yeah, come on, it's 2 minutes.
But again, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know if they already. And unfortunately, a lot of these parts were cast before we even walked in the room, and we were naive enough to think that we had a chance when they had already had it cast.
You bring up a great point, which we like to remind particularly younger actors who are just starting out. It doesn't matter if the role's already cast.
Yeah.
What matters is that you go in and give a great audition because you may not be auditioning for that show or that film or that play. You may be auditioning for the next thing that director or that producer does, and you don't even know that. And they will remember you. I mean, I remember auditioning for, I think my wife and I actually auditioned together for a short film. And we were like, we're not really doing short films anymore. We were just at that cusp where we're like, we're not doing student films or short films. We're starting to work in the business,
Yes.
But we were like, well, this is a really interesting script, and it was a cool casting director, and and we did it, and it was very funny. And then I got a call out of the blue for an audition for a Steven Spielberg film, and they said, we're not giving you the script, or you got to read like the sides from Road to Perdition or something. Right. We're not giving you the script, and we're not telling you much about the character, but this casting person, you auditioned for her 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I guess you did like a short film audition or something, and she remembered you, and that's why you got this audition.
Exactly. And I want people
you never know.
I want people to remember that, especially these young actors coming up. They think it's about posting on Instagram and people are going to find you. Do the work. Mm-hmm. Be nice to everybody. Walk into the room prepared. Do your job as the artist that you are. And on to the next one, right? Because you're not going to get everything, right? It's like, it's far and few between, and that's okay. But giving up shouldn't be your option because you're going to meet a lot of assholes along the way. And you got to learn to be resilient, and you've got to learn to be gracious about people's lives. We have no idea what's going on the other side. We don't know what Oliver Stone is going through. We don't know what any casting producers are going through. They're people too. And you realize that later as you get older. But, young actors think all the power. No, the power is in you walking into the room, or now everything's done so lucky it's done on video. I mean, like, could you imagine? How much easier that would have been for us coming up, not having to walk into a room full of producers lined around. Oh my God!
We often say that sometimes we say we miss the human connection of it, which I think we definitely do. I know, Chris, you've said that. I agree, but there is a real ease to I can do this audition in the privacy of my own home. There's a lot less nerves involved, and I can do a couple different takes if I want to. And there definitely are advantages to both, for sure.
Well, you've actually maybe answered our last question without
several times over,
actually, which is usually like, what's your best piece of advice? But I think you just
there's so much there.
Find out what makes you special, and know that, right? We often undervalue what makes us special, and if your superpower is being able to talk to people, that's your superpower. Being kind, that's your use it. Know that you don't need extra things and the bells and whistles, and just know and continue to explore your art. You don't get to just say you're an actor. You don't get to just say that. You need to do the work. You need to be in class. You need to be reading plays, watching movies, and working on your crafts. And to me, that's very important. That's very important.
We say a lot on here that it is in between the jobs is the real work. And and the playtime really is like when you finally get the job, it's...
Yes.
I want to put one thing out there, which is one of my favorite things is watching comedic actors who show up somewhere in a movie or TV show in a really dramatic role and knock your socks off. And, obviously, I'm thinking about Jamie Foxx in Ray and Jim Carrey and
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. And I feel that coming for you. And so get ready. I just want to say, I just had this weird sort of
I love that
moment, and I don't know what it's going to be, but you're going to knock everyone's socks off in a different way than maybe you have in the past. And so I don't quite know why I said that, but I think because
I'll accept it. And the universe, I hope the universe, from your mouth to God's ears and to the universe. And I'm open to
it'll be interesting
to
watch, and I bet it'll be interesting to do. I don't know what it is, but I just feel it. And
it's your woman's intuition is what it is.
That's it. It is. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And also, I think part of it is I feel like like many people, I know how funny you are. Like a lot of people, I know how willing you are to make fun of yourself. But you also have a depth of compassion that I think more people are starting to understand. But I think I understand because I got to know you in a way. And you just have there's there. You have a depth. You have a depth to you, and maybe that's part of why I said that. And I know there's lots of other things going on in your life, and I'm so glad we didn't talk about any of them because
I love
this is about acting.
Thank you, and I love it because I feel
acting.
Yes, and I want to get back to acting, and I want to get back to. I miss actors. I miss working with people like you. I miss laughing and exploring things, and I miss being on a set with a crew, and that's stuff that I love so much. And which is why I was trying to talk my acting coach into going into an acting class with me because I just want to stay connected to actors. I have such a love of the art of it. And so this was great for me. It was a nice reprieve from the awful things that I deal with every day.
I bet.
The other things. So thank you for having me, and thank you for the love and
right back
and my
at you.
love to your beautiful wife.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
blessings to you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leah. So I don't know even how to end that, Chris.
Goodbye.
What fun. What fun.
That was amazing.
Leah Remini, everybody.
Thank you, baby.
Well, it's been another great 20 minutes with you, my friend.
And you too, brother. It's been fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Cool. I thought that was awesome. All right, star that.
That was terrific.
And we got another great guest coming up next week, so be sure to tune in again to Confessions of a Working Actor.